Foreign policy will be the main focus of tomorrow night's third and final presidential debate. It'll take place in a hotly contested state. That is Florida, where the 29 electoral votes are a must-win for Mitt Romney, which is why, no doubt, both campaigns with their vice presidential candidates were out there today stumping for votes. Joining us now is David Drucker, who writes for the Roll Call on Capitol Hill. And David, it's pretty interesting that the last debate is in Florida. It's a state, of course, that both men want, but Mitt Romney, he really needs it. So why will it be so tough for him to reach that magic number of 270 electoral votes you need to win without Florida, say?
Well, Florida has, as you mentioned, close to 30 electoral votes. And if you look at the map, the guaranteed states that Obama gets with big electoral vote counts versus the guaranteed states that Mitt Romney has in his column with high electoral vote counts is larger. So the president has New York in his column, Illinois in his column, California, the most electoral votes of any state, of 55 electoral votes he's got in his column guaranteed. Mitt Romney has Texas, Mitt Romney has Georgia, and not much else in terms of big electoral votes, which is why Florida is so important for the Republican candidate always, at least going back to 2000 when we first started to see this red state, blue state kind of divide.
All right, well, let's take a look at another state, and that's Nevada, where unemployment has been above 12% at times, but Obama is leading. And I'm wondering, is this the Latino vote factor that we've heard so much about?
Well, it might be. I don't know if we're going to know for sure until after Election Day. I mean, the president's going to win Latinos outside of Florida by a pretty healthy margin. The question is by how much. But the other question we're going to need to answer, and we won't know until after Election Day, is percentage-wise, how many Latinos showed up to vote? They haven't always shown up in large numbers, the numbers that they have available. And so it could be that Latinos are boosting him in Nevada. I mean, they are. What I mean is it could turn out to be crucial to his victory there if he wins it. But the other thing going on in Nevada on the ground, which is unlike a lot of the other battleground states, in fact, unlike just about any of the battleground states, is the Democrats have managed to register far more new voters in Nevada this cycle than the Republicans. The Republican state party has been dysfunctional. The Romney campaign and people connected to the governor of Nevada moved in to set up a sort of shadow party, if you will, to make up for the state party's dysfunction. The Democrats had no such problem. The Obama campaign and the state party run by Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid is humming on all cylinders. They're doing a great job. And so I still think the presidential race in Nevada is going to be close, but it would answer your question as to why a state with such a lousy economy still seems to be favoring the incumbent president.
Right. We know tomorrow foreign policy is supposed to be the focus of this debate, and President Obama will probably do well with that. That is tradition when you're president. But I'm wondering, what can Mitt Romney do? And is there a way, actually, that foreign policy could come back and hurt the president?
Well, there are a couple of things here. I think the first thing to understand is that we're not in a national security election. We're in an election where people are focused on jobs and the economy. And usually when that's the case, what voters want to see from the challenger is a sense that you can provide the leadership and vision and strength abroad that make people feel comfortable that you're up to the task. Now, why that is, it's because Americans understand that you can't be commander-in-chief until you're elected. It's why in 1992, when Bill Clinton, at that time a somewhat unknown governor of a very small state, was running against a foreign policy juggernaut in the incumbent President Bush, or George Herbert Walker Bush, Americans were upset about the economy, and they said, this guy looks like a leader. He looks like he'll know what he's doing, and therefore we will elect him commander-in-chief. Now, clearly there were other things at play in that election with Ross Perot, but my point is that I think Romney's task, he cannot in a sense, do the president on foreign policy in terms of a record. But what he can do is point to some recent flaws as he sees it in the president's record in the Middle East. He can point to the Libya issue as being reflective of what he will probably say is the president's failed policies in the Middle East, and then just point to the leadership aspect. And if he does that and presents a sort of coherent vision for how he would approach foreign policy, I think that will be enough for him to accomplish his goal.
All right. I was going to ask you one more, but we're pretty much out of time. So, David Drucker, thanks very much for your insights. All of us, we're going to be watching this debate tomorrow night, and it'll be the third time. So the final go-round to get a measure of things. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Martin.